I, 22M, am considering breaking up with my GF, 18F. This is my first time in a long-distance relationship, and I am conflicted about the red flags. I want to mend this relationship if possible. My girlfriend and I began dating 7 months ago after meeting at a music festival during my travels in the summer. We clicked immediately and grew very close in a short amount of time, spending 4 days together and over 16 hours each day. Once she returned home, we kept our conversations going on the phone, with calls lasting between 9 to 14 hours, often extending late into the night. Our discussions seemed endless, covering a wide range of topics. She was very open with me, sharing whatever came to her mind, but she was never forthcoming about her childhood or social life. Before long, we were in a relationship. For context, I am her first significant partner. This was a big change for me, as I had never dated someone younger, but I found her personality, intellect, and sense of humor to be truly perfect. Additionally, I had never been in a long-distance relationship. She grew up in a very sheltered environment, as her parents were part of a cult until she turned 7 years old, and she has rarely spent time outside their supervision. She never attended school nor had proper interactions with the outside world. Unfortunately, this background has impacted her, although she tends to deny it. Another point to mention is that she is a musician in a band with her brother and 2 individuals I do not know, and she refrains from sharing any information about them. Her entire life seems to revolve around the band. Problem as she is extremely secretive. I didn't realize the extent until she started hinting that she wanted to disclose certain things, but felt pressured by her family to keep them confidential. I struggle to learn anything about her now unless I persistently ask. She shares nothing about her social life, except for some places she frequents and her suggestion to use a location-sharing app a couple of months into our relationship. When I inquire about her daily activities, she often replies that she forgets or does not recall. Problem B, she exhibits complete indifference toward me. During the summer, I traveled to various locations, including California, Texas, Hawaii, and the East Coast. I travel light and affordably, which often led me into challenging situations. In 2 instances, I had guns pointed at me, and I experienced significant stress from disrupted travel plans and accommodations, leading to feelings of depression. The first time a difficult situation occurred, I became extremely traumatized and tried to share my feelings with her, but she blankly stared at me and changed the subject. Even when I brought the topic back, she cried, expressing her guilt for not being able to help me feel better. I ended up spending the next 2 hours comforting her instead. Realizing she did not deserve my stress, I opted to limit my discussions about my struggles. Whenever difficult events arose, I would simply say I was having a bad day and wanted to talk if she was willing. She consistently avoided engaging in those conversations, instead discussing her band or her dogs. She has seemingly repressed these experiences as time has passed. By the end of my summer travels, I returned to my hometown to discover that my childhood father figure had suffered a severe car accident and was in critical condition. I was in total shock when she called that night, asking what was wrong because she could sense something was off. When I explained the situation, she interrupted me, saying it was unfortunate and expressing sympathy for his family, but offered nothing else. After 5 minutes of silence, I stated I was going to bed. It was around this time that our communication significantly decreased, and what had once been long phone calls turned into a brief daily conversation, at best. I reconnected with old friends to help cope with the feelings of abandonment I was experiencing. When I informed her of his passing, she advised me to seek support from someone who could help me feel better, which I appreciated as a sweet gesture. However, when I attempted to discuss my loss in depth, she responded by saying she did not know what to say or do, highlighting her lack of experience in such matters, which may be understandable given her background and emotional neglect. I also suspect she may be neurodivergent, although I cannot deny that it troubles me. As a side note, I spent some weeks at her home with her family during my travels. Those weeks were wonderful. We enjoyed dates, prepared meals together, watched movies, and played music, all of which felt surreal. I had never felt so deeply connected to someone before. Her family appeared to be very welcoming toward me, even discussing potential future marriage between me and my girlfriend. However, I later discovered from her that they secretly disliked me and were trying to convince her to end the relationship due to their negative feelings about me. This ongoing negativity from her family weighs heavily on her, despite my not having done anything wrong. Problem C, she raises significant concerns about faithfulness. She is extremely possessive and dislikes the notion of me even glancing at other women. To her, viewing pornography is akin to cheating because it suggests I am not satisfied with her. During intimate exchanges, she would send me videos or pictures taken earlier in the day, sometimes unexpectedly sharing content of herself in vulnerable moments. Moreover, she once accidentally mentioned having condoms in her room, stating she used an extra while experimenting with a toy for masturbation. When I asked where they came from, she responded, "I don't remember." It's also worth noting her sporadic affectionate gestures late at night after periods of silence. This situation leads to problem C1 2. Our communication has dwindled significantly. Initiating a meaningful conversation feels like pulling teeth. Each day she states she is not feeling communicative and will ghost me for hours or even nearly a full day. When she resumes communication, she often claims to be busy with band commitments despite our prior conversations occurring all day, even during her practice. She used to prioritize our conversations, but now she does not. I have communicated to her many times that communication is essential for a long-distance relationship, and without it, we have nothing. Each time I addressed this issue, she would increase her affection for a few days, but things would soon return to the usual pattern. The most recent time I pressed her for a truthful explanation, which I had never done before, she revealed that she feels anxious around me, as if she might upset me, echoing her feelings with her parents. I pointed out that I have never expressed anger toward her and suggested that if she perceives me in the same light as her parents, there might be an unrecognized power imbalance in our relationship. She immediately denied this notion and acknowledged that she understands I would never react angrily, attributing her feelings to past experiences. We had a long discussion about the importance of her seeking therapy and utilizing online resources to assist her. This conversation allowed me to comfort her for an hour or two. Everything seemed fine for a few days, but then she began ignoring me once more. Although it may sound detrimental, I genuinely appreciated that exchange since it was the most substantive communication we had experienced in over a month. We tried to maintain our connection by watching movies together on occasion, which she enjoys because it requires minimal verbal interaction from her. To avoid making this excessively lengthy, I'll summarize additional key thoughts. I recognize that I am not perfect. In response to her lack of empathy and neglecting my feelings, I have started investing less effort, which is unfortunate. Since I ceased making an effort to call or double text her, our conversations have shrunk from daily contact to perhaps once a week. I understand this is my responsibility. Recently, I have withdrawn from reaching out due to feeling defeated, and when she does initiate small talk, I find it trivial and nonsensical. Reviewing prior messages, I realize I have come across as dull, empty, and disengaged, which is unfair to her and does nothing to foster our relationship. I have also begun finding her less physically attractive as she frequently dons incredibly masculine attire, which she knows I do not find appealing. Nonetheless, I hesitate to dictate her wardrobe choices, so I keep any negative thoughts to myself. Furthermore, the condom incident has affected my desire for intimacy. Lastly, the age difference may be a significant factor, as I have never considered dating anyone younger, particularly someone quite a bit younger. On a positive note, when we communicated regularly before things became strained, she was genuinely hilarious and wonderfully unique. She is immensely talented and beautiful. In person, we share an undeniable chemistry. Our conversations and collaborative efforts feel so effortless and comfortable, filled with laughter that I have never experienced before. It genuinely feels right. The mere thought of losing what we have breaks my heart. I have contemplated the possibility of ending the relationship, but the mere idea makes me feel sick. I want to resolve these issues and establish lasting change. What I am really asking is if these challenges can be overcome, or do you think this relationship is beyond repair? What suggestions do you have for mending our connection? Am I the antagonist? Story 2. The peanuts wore me that my ex didn't want will now go on a mission with a beautiful missionary. I, male, 22, and my ex, whom I will call Denise, female, 22, were together for nearly 5 years. We had an on and off relationship for many years and experienced a lot together. Denise and I drifted apart last year in 2024, and that's acceptable when I reflect on it now. In September, I lost my grandmother to cancer, which prompted a come to Jesus moment, and I realized I needed to make positive changes in my life. I chose to cut off certain individuals and quit substances and alcohol to prepare for a procedure called gastric sleeve surgery. During this time, I was experiencing severe nightmares, and my ex returned from the break I suggested. However, I informed her that I was undergoing this surgery and felt like I was on the verge of dying, so I wanted her to leave me. But with divine intervention, my paperwork did not go through, and my surgery was postponed until December. December brought significant issues. I informed her of this and apologized, but our relationship became increasingly strained. We had disputes and positive moments, but on December 3rd, 2024, I had my surgery. I still wanted to attend a private Christian university to support her graduation, since I was financing her education, but she didn't want me to leave the house after the surgery, even though I would have moved mountains for her. The day before her graduation, we had an argument, and she didn't even send me a ticket, invitation, or video link. A few weeks later, my job terminated my employment. Don't worry, I contacted Human Resources for lacking proper documentation and medical papers. By December, I was financially struggling and couldn't purchase a gift for my ex. On December 25, we briefly met, and I gave her presents, which included a mix of Disney items, Harry Potter merchandise, and perfume. Many hours later that same day, she expressed dissatisfaction with the Mickey and Minnie items, saying she didn't like them as she did when we were children. She continued to complain, stating that the gifts her best friend bought her were better than mine. Keep in mind that I was not working at the time. This made me cry, and although I told her I was hurt, she didn't seem to care. She listed things she liked, such as Peanuts, Spider-Man, and Legos, but those items were too expensive. I didn't have a job, but on December 26, she apologized for not giving me a gift because she is a recently graduated college student. Later that day, she suggested that we put an end to our relationship and move on in 2024. I tried to reason, negotiate, and do everything possible to keep her in my life, but I was unsuccessful. On December 27, I decided to buy her a warm stuffed toy that she had wanted for a long time. I went to the local Hallmark and became upset because there was only Woodstock available. A kind lady told me, "No one wants the little guy, he's very cute, but everyone else wants Snoopy." With my soft spot for overlooked items, I bought Woodstock. That day, we had an argument about my absence and her refusal to accept a farewell gift. I showed her the gift, and while I felt that any other girl would appreciate it, she remarked, "I wouldn't like it because it smells like lavender." So that was the day I let her go. We arranged to meet on December 30 so I could still give her Woodstock, but she canceled, refusing to see me one last time. On December 31, I wished her a happy new year while working at a fireworks stand. On my birthday, I received no message from her, and my family went out of town due to the passing of a family member. My best friend Tizzy, female, 20, was with her family, and I ended up crying alone in an arcade on my birthday. That night I held Woodstock, and the next day, I decided to place it in a shoebox. I was a wreck for several days until I finally got back into my routine. The week things improved was the week I secured a new and good job. A young woman flirted with me at church, and another attractive woman was starstruck to see me after a long absence. At that time, I had lost 50 pounds and weighed 365 before the surgery. She greeted me with a, "Hi." I wasn't close to that young woman, but I was familiar with her parents. The same week, I got a job with my older brother, and then my ex texted to say she missed me, which was not an issue, just as I felt I was finally moving on. I called Celines, female, 19, father, and inquired about everyone. My family and hers are both part of the Latter-day Saints religion. You can judge as you wish, but I have turned into an atheist, though I still attend services since my grandmother raised me from the age of 9. My ex was a Christian girl, but we did not work out. However, on the Sunday I met the family, my ex and I argued over text. I told her. It wasn't good for you to text that because I still have residual feelings, and it frustrates me because I was genuinely moving on. I expressed more feelings, saying, it hurts because you complained about Christmas. I didn't get a happy birthday message from you, and I spent it alone. She opened up, saying, I think I was just so upset and far gone at that point that I rejected anything you did or gave to me, but I didn't truly feel that way. I'm realizing that now and working through my emotions slowly, which is why I can't return to being friends, at least not yet, because I'm still processing things between us. I told her, it sucks. You returned too soon. You abandoned me, knowing you were my only rock. She apologized, and we said our goodbyes, which made me angrier with her. Celine is about to leave for a mission trip to Canada, so with my next paycheck, I decided to get her a blanket, Phase 10, a book titled Phantom of the Opera, and a handwritten letter encouraging her not to give up. I met her family on Sunday, a week before her official going-away party, and she and I reconnected. She asked me why I hadn't been attending church. I opened up about my atheism and my past mistakes. My mother is part of the primary classes for children, and she often asks me to help her teach. I felt hypocritical telling kids about God's word while knowing I wasn't following it. She said, of course you consider yourself a sinner, and I've seen you lose a lot of weight. Even if you think you're a bad person, there are those who see you as a hard worker. We are all sinners. My mission as a missionary is to guide people to and back to Christ. I'm glad you shared your sins with me. It was unfortunate that you were away because of it. Just remember, you can always seek forgiveness, even if no one likes the mistakes you made. It makes you human, not a monster. We conversed for a while, and I told her, I was trying to get you a warm stuffed toy, but I didn't know what you liked. She replied, oh man, that would have been so nice knowing I'm heading to a cold place. At that moment, I felt foolish. When we parted, I told her, reach for the stars, but if you can't reach them, then settle for the moon. A week later, I decided to purchase a Harry Potter gift for the older sister of a family friend. I called Tizzy. I shared this entire story with her, and she was all for getting Celine a warm stuffed toy for the chilly winters in Canada. So at the Hallmark, I got a large gift bag and drove 27 minutes from my home in South Houston to North Houston. Tizzy didn't like the idea of me giving a cute Woodstock to anyone but her. She dislikes my ex as well. So I chose to buy myself the low-stock Snoopy warm toy, planning to give it to her when she visited. When I got home, I took my ex's Woodstock and said, you'll find someone who will love you, little buddy, placed it in the gift bag, and headed to her party. I am a social person, but a woman who had been busy all day ensuring the party went well was clearly exhausted. When I saw her, she accidentally dropped food on the ground, and I joked, long day, she replied. Yes, managing the party and talking to everyone is quite stressful. I reassured her. I'll be one less person to talk to. I got you one last gift, and I hope you enjoy it. The party was enjoyable, but honestly, I dozed off on the couch for an hour. When I woke up, I bid farewell to her family and wished her, happy trails to you until we meet again. The following day at church, she cried while speaking. Although she hadn't read my note, what she said nearly mirrored my own experiences from the previous year. I hugged her and she told me, thank you for the warm toy. I thought you wouldn't give it to me, but I will make sure to use him frequently. We exchanged goodbyes, and I felt guilty for giving away something intended for someone else. I feel like a jerk, but I believe it was the right choice. I just hope my ex does not return expecting me to get her a warm toy. Story 3. I read my M28 boyfriend's text messages with his F27 friend. After my boyfriend, M28, and I, F25, finished having morning intimacy, he went ahead and took a shower while I waited. Before he entered the shower, he returned to lend me his tablet saying, hey, I found this application I thought you might enjoy. It's for drawing. I found it very thoughtful of him to do that for me. While I was drawing, a notification from his phone arrived. Not a significant issue, but it reminded me that his phone was connected to the iPad, so I decided to open the Messages application. Now, for some context, I understand how this sounds. I would also shake my head if I were reading this. My boyfriend has always been somewhat secretive about his phone. He tends to tilt his phone in a way that prevents me from seeing. There was one occasion when he left it open with a YouTube video playing, went to the restroom, and minutes later returned somewhat panicked asking, where's my phone? It was open this whole time. He grabbed it and went back to the restroom. Initially, I didn't notice this behavior, but gradually, my suspicion began to build as he continued to act this way. Additionally, for context, my boyfriend has always been attracted to the idea of a luxurious lifestyle modern home, Lamborghini, wealth, wealth, wealth. He frequently sent me videos on how to be successful and how to get rich in 3 effortless steps. He once shared a video of a woman wearing revealing clothing and sitting on an extravagant car while her boyfriend filmed her. When I mentioned it, he said, "That's just part of the goal. I envision you with me like that one day." Keep in mind, I hardly like dresses, and I am not particularly interested in that luxurious lifestyle. I really just picture myself and my partner in a cozy apartment with children playing in the living room, feeling content with our lives. Anyway, back to the narrative. Curiosity got the better of me, and I opened the messages application. I scrolled down to check if he was texting other women. There was nothing significant, except for one girl, his friend, whom I have met in person before. I opened the messages, and at first, nothing seemed off, but then the conversations took a strange turn. He would invite her for late-night drinks or to watch a movie and would even ask if she was hungry. He spoke to her in a babyish tone, would text her good morning and good night, and quite evidently flirt, saying, "Our pictures look nice together," or, "What do you feel like eating? Please don't say me." Meanwhile, she would often make excuses for not being able to go out or wouldn't flirt back. Occasionally, she would say, "Yeah, let's try to hang out next time," but I suspect that was just to brush him off. This didn't come as a shock yet still caused pain. I would have been surprised if I hadn't discovered anything at all. I confronted him about it. He appeared embarrassed, looking as if he were a deer caught in headlights. He kept apologizing and said, "I was wrong, I'm sorry. I promise we are just friends. We never even went out. I can stop talking to her if you want." Then he shifted the conversation, saying, "I don't know what you want me to do. That's how I joke around with my friends." I asked him, "How would you feel if you found messages like these from a male friend?" He replied, "I would hate it and would ask you why." I said, "That clarifies everything, doesn't it? Unlike you, I have some respect for our relationship. I establish boundaries with any other guy, including my male friends." He is unaware, but those male friends are not even my friends anymore, and I am okay with that. I prefer it that way. We sat in silence for a while. I tried my best not to cry, but I did anyway. He asked me what I wanted to do, and I told him I just wanted to gather my things and go home. He attempted to hug me, but I snapped and told him not to touch me. He even called the girl to try and convince me that there was nothing between them. I didn't respond and simply proceeded to call a lift. He insisted he would take me instead, so he did. Earlier, I mentioned the whole luxurious life because this friend of his is a well-known local realtor. I have followed her on Instagram, so I've seen her posts before, and she promotes luxury, a lavish car, an elegant home, glamorous dresses and venues, a successful life. Yet, I rent a room from this humble couple because I certainly do not earn enough to rent an apartment. I currently do not have a car because I lost my last one, a 2006 Hyundai Tucson, which I worked so hard to obtain. Everything I possess right now, I have earned through hard work. I have been striving to secure a better-paying job, but at this point, I am unsure what I am doing wrong. I cannot afford school. My boyfriend and I even tried to establish a real estate photography business. But since I do not have a car right now, I cannot travel to the locations, so that venture declined, and I know he feels disappointed about that. Anyway, you get the essence. Although I felt hurt and betrayed, I didn't end the relationship because I genuinely love him. After nearly 3 years together, how does one just walk away? We reconciled the following day, yet I still have not forgiven him. A part of me is shouting, "Know your worth," but another part does not want to leave him. Despite everything, it was wrong of me to open his messages. Perhaps I should have simply expressed my concerns instead. He is returning to work in the oil field, so the distance will now be even more challenging with all these overwhelming thoughts. I cannot stop thinking about those messages and the way he communicated with her, and I find it difficult to move beyond that, but I am uncertain of what to do.